Hello everyone. Welcome to our first presentation that is directed right on our screen. So when I record my videos, I use something called Screencast-O-Matic. There are several tools out there. There's Jing, there's ScreenChomp, many out there for you to use. But we do find when we use this, it's better to have this kind of information, and then it's going to stop in between, and it's going to use something that a lot of people use to stop and kind of do a formative evaluation to find out if you're hanging in there or if you're following along. You could use Educanon to do that, or Edpuzzle, and there's several others, but they're the two of the most popular ones. Educanon, some of it is free and some of it is you purchase a license, and Edpuzzle is free, but you need a Discovery Education login with that. Both work well. I like both. For this one, I'm using Educanon, but others I will use Edpuzzle, and so that might be something you want to check out, trying to make some of your presentations a little more interactive. So together, Beth and I created this PowerPoint on learner-centered environments. We're trying to take the good teaching strategies out of your classroom and put them online. A lot of times it's just back and forth regurgitated information, but we want you to figure out, why are you doing this? Why do you want to have best practices? So I'm going to go through this PowerPoint presentation and kind of ask you some questions and make you think about where we are. I think as I go through this presentation, you'll be nodding, oh yeah, that's exactly how it is. So it's nothing new, but it's just summarizing what's going on in education now. So, working toward the knowledge age, learner-centered environments. So we start with the industrial age versus the knowledge age. Industrial age is where we've been for many years. Many people say we're not getting away from the industrial age, but we finally are starting to enter something more called the knowledge age. And let's take a look at the difference. So if I look at my category over here on the industrial age, if you see this, I think you'll notice that in this section here, it was all about standardization. They wanted all the schools to be the same. They wanted to give the same test. They wanted every school to have the same curriculum. They wanted all students to be the same, because during that time, that's what we were doing in the big world. That's what we were doing in big business. It was factories. So we want to make sure that all the students are ready to go into factory and do standardization. Everything's standardized. Then we also want the top-down organization. We went from the people at the top decided everything for the bottom. No one had any input, and although at times we feel that way still, for the most part, a superintendent, a principal decided what was being taught, how it was being done, and that's what they did. No one had a say. Compliance. We all had to comply to everything. We wanted to make sure that we were all in compliance with all the guidelines and states. We followed all the rules, regulations. We still do that somewhat today with our state testing. But for the most part, the compliance has kind of changed from compliance to accountability. So there's a little bit of difference there. Conformity. Everybody conformed. Everybody did the same thing. When you walk into a classroom now, you see different teaching styles. You see different teaching strategies. As long as you were teaching the same skill and content, it doesn't matter how you choose to teach it. Back then, that wasn't the case. Everybody taught it the same way. Everybody did math the same exact way. There wasn't 26 different ways to add. And in the world, CEO was king. That person ruled everything, and that's who had the say. Now let's look at it a little bit differently. Now the knowledge age. And we're not just talking in schools. We're talking the world around us. Think about big business now. Again, that's what they're looking at. The president, everyone decided. Now let's move into today, more the knowledge age. Everything's about customization. Even Burger King says, have it your way. That's where we're at. That's where we're standing. In order to compete, oh, we'll do that, but we'll customize it to you, or we'll make it to you. Education, customization. They want you to differentiate in your classroom. They want you to meet the needs of all the different learners. They want you to customize the instruction. If you have 5 different groups, they want you to customize and make the teaching and the activities fit those students' needs. Team-based organizations. You are probably on more committees now than you've ever been on before, because everything's a team effort. I'm not saying that they always go exactly by the team. It's still top down at times, but at least they're asking for input. They're putting together groups. They're having accountability groups. They're having people's input. They're involving the stakeholders. They're involving the outside, the community, the students, the teachers. In big business, they're inviting the community in. They're having community lectures. It's not just happening in education. And then the initiative, and I'm over here in this section, the initiative. Instead of complying, now we're taking the initiative to do something new, or we want to do this. So maybe it's not that we have to do it, but we want to because we know what's best. So we're taking the initiative now. Rather than conform, we're making it diverse. We aren't going to give the same students all the same thing. We still do that in a lot of cases, but they want us to move away from it. That's why they're looking at your PVOS scores and your growth scores to see if you're moving those students along, because students move at different times and they may not get a year's worth of growth. To be diverse, to accept diversity. And there it is, customer is the king. So in the business world, they want to try to make everyone happy. They want to make you, the consumer, happy. In education, the consumers are your parents with their children, and you are trying to approve them and make them what they want. And as well as the colleges, as well as the jobs, that's what we're doing. We have to look at what they want and we have to make them ready. So they are our customers and they are the king in today's world. So we are changing a little bit and we're moving along. And with that comes some big changes for us. Oops, sorry about that. So what happens is something called converging dynamics. It's the whole learning theory. And we tend to look at the brain theory here. And if you can see, all the different areas of your brain all mean different things. So if I break it out, in this light blue area is more about being self-smart. And the orange area might be about being body smart. And some people are more picture smart or logic smart or word smart or music smart. It's kind of taking that, the multiple intelligences, learning theories, Dale's cone theory of learning, all together and saying you have all these different types of kids that are smart in certain areas and maybe not as smart and strong as in others. And you're putting it into your classroom. And you have to meet the needs of those kids that are really word smart. And we've done that for a lot of years. And logic smart. But have we always made it welcoming for the really music smart kids, or the people smart kids, or the self smart, or the body smart? So we're taking all those things, which they have proven are directly related to our brain senses, into our classroom. This is where the converging and the dynamics come. Because now not only do we have all those different theories about, we know how people learn and their different smarts and different senses, then we also add this gigantic piece called technology. Our children out there live in a world of technology. To ask them to be exempt from it is asking them to be wired down. Big theory. And it's proven that if used correctly, technology is part of that learner-centered classroom. That's how they learn. You can also meet all of those different needs that we just saw back here in the brain through technology. So we're adding that into this learner-centered classroom, the technology, the different types of learners. And then you have one last thing called the global needs. We have to start preparing our children for their future. It's not the future that you know. It's not even the future that I know or other generations know. It's a generation that hasn't even been created yet. We don't know what's going to be there. And now it's 60 to 80% of the jobs that are going to be created are going to be what we're preparing them for. So we just have to think forethought, like, or, ahead. Where are we headed with this? My own son said to me, I don't know what I want to be. There's a good chance whatever I want to be isn't even thought of yet. And he's right. And he wasn't because he heard me or heard anything. He thought that on his own. There's so many different jobs, including my own, wasn't here years ago. So how would I have known? So we have to prepare them globally for where they might be. And as we add more technology, that globe that was so far away when we first thought the world was flat And now you can connect to someone from another world at the tips of your finger and talk back. So then we go to converging all these dynamics together. We're taking those different learning theories on how children learn, the global needs and technology, and going into our classroom saying we have to meet all these needs plus the curriculum plus everything. And how do we do it? So a nice little comic here. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. So we look at our students in this class and we have a penguin and a monkey and a bird and a fish and a seal and a dog and an elephant. And then we say to them, please climb that tree. So when we say a fair selection, and we all have being fair and we all have to take the same exam, we know what that's like with our learners in our classroom. Yep, some can do it. That monkey will have no problem. But that elephant and that fish, it's physically impossible for them to do it. So it is all about being fair. And that kind of brings us to, if it has to be fair, then we need to personalize the learning. Just like our fingerprints, every individual learner is different. So personalized learning in the 21st century is from vision to action. It has to be fair. The learning experiences, personalizing them, is the key to being fair. How else can we do it? Now, if we ask the fish to swim, he could do it. If we ask the monkey to climb the tree, and we ask the elephant to stomp on something, a rock, to break it, we are assessing all of them, but we're assessing them by personalizing what they can and cannot do. Technology is the enabler for all this. It's the enabler for a new paradigm of education. With the use of technology, we are now able to meet the needs of the global needs, the learner needs, and the world around us all in one. It's similar to years ago in the early 80s, what they used to do, and I was a part of it. I would have one teacher, and she would have 5 different groups in the classroom for reading. And one group would be in one book, another group would be another book, and they all had different activities. She called them contracts. We each had a contract. And we would do these activities and we'd complete and move on. Now, we were all learning the same way. The activities we were doing were all the same. It was just at higher level reading. That's it. But now, with the use of technology, what they could do is that group that's reading on a 2nd grade level could be doing 2nd grade level work, but then they could do activities, and they could be doing a drill and practice website. They could be doing a review game of flashcards. They could be doing different activities, not just varying the type of work and the level of the work, but the activities as well. And that's where technology is finally the enabler for education. Let's look at it a little bit more carefully here. So we have the extended knowledge construction versus traditional education. So we have traditional, and this is again more of where we're headed. Now notice this is from 1995. This was even before the technology was there. But as I go through this, think about where does technology lend in this. So I'm going to start with this first section here, and traditional. So I'm in the traditional column here. And in the traditional, the activities were teacher-centered didactic. Teacher asked a question, students answered it. The teacher was the storyteller, would be in front of the classroom telling a story, the students would listen. Students were listening. The learning emphasis was on facts. So you had to know what year everything was and names. How did you gain the knowledge? You accumulated it. The demonstration success? A test. How much did you know at the end? The assessment, norm referenced, and multiple choice. True and false, multiple choice questions. Technology use, seat work. That's it. And this is probably how most of you learned. How did it change? How can it be changed? And this, we changed our technology, but this was even before technology came in. But this is where we want to go. Learner-centered, interactive, working together. Even though we're doing an online class, you are going to work together in groups. And that's how you're going to learn together. Even in the next session, section, I'm going to have that discussion area where you can post questions and things that you're struggling with so we can all help you learn, not just me. Which is where the teacher roles change, the collaborator, sometimes the learner. A few of you said, oh, we've done this, we've done that. I want to learn from you. And you're going to post some things, even at the end of this session for session 2, on what you're learned that other people can learn from you. It doesn't always have to just be all me. The students now become the collaborators and sometimes the expert, just like you're going to do. The learning emphasis relationships, inquiry. I want you to go out there and learn and look up things and find things. There is such a time that it was good to know facts, and you should know facts, but how to find it. It's right there at our fingertips now all the time. Concept knowledge, transformation. You learn it, how do you apply it? You transform the knowledge. It's different than it was. Notice the demonstration of success, the quality. Any of us can go Google a year anymore, so the quantity doesn't matter. But the quality, what else can you find it? How can you apply it to something else? How well do you know it? The assessment. We get annoyed with the portfolios and all those different kind of project-based assessments, but that really does show a lot more than that norm reference true and false multiple choice question test. The technology use, again, it's not listing what tools, are not saying Google, or not saying a web class, or not saying anything specific, but communication, collaboration, information access, and expression. And then even with Common Core, the whole concept is how will you take it and apply it and create something with it to show what you used. Doesn't matter the tool. This is what you're trying to use through the technology. So it's all things we kind of know, but now we just are moving forward with it. So the knowledge age learning environments. If we look back, there's no time, there's no schedule on these. They're not time-based. That's hard for us because we all have to get through certain curriculum by the time our standardized testing starts. But having online learning, that time period is gone. And if you notice, I try to put a little bit of time in the front with your sections, but the time is gone. You're not working, my 40-minute time is done, I have to get off right now. You're not doing that when it's online. Attainment or competency-based for all basic skills. What do you know? Once you know it, you move on. You work on your personal intelligence and gifts. When I assign a lot of projects, I'll say you could do it this way or you could do it that way. What works best for you? So then I'm enabling, if there's someone in here, and I had someone last class who was a musician, and he sang a song for one of his projects. Does that work? Absolutely. That's his personal intelligence. I'm not going to sit there and say you need to do a 5-slide PowerPoint and on each slide have this, this, and this. Then you're not allowing that person to use their personal intelligences. And it's hard control let go for teachers, but that's what you got to let them do. And when you're doing an online class, they're at home. They're not sitting in those constraints of the classroom. So it's best for them to do that. Problem-based and work on real projects. We know authentic learning is definitely the way to be. And learners work with teachers, but also subject matter experts. We are often thinking that we still need to be the one that knows everything, but why not let someone else come in and speak for another if they know it better? Why not invite them to Skype in or FaceTime in or do Google Hangout with an author? They're willing to do it. There's a lot of free out there. If you don't know, bring those experts in because that's what these kids need to know how to do. I don't know it, let's go ask an expert. We can begin to implement knowledge age environment within our industrial design. Now we went through all that. You're like, yeah, we know all this because we've been doing this. Is the battle we fight. How do we start to change in our industrial design? Blended learning. You've heard blended learning before, but truly what is blended learning? Blended learning is using the lecture style, traditional. You're learning personal learning plans, using technology, doing different activities, using the expert, and blending it all together to make students learn in all different ways to meet the needs of everybody. It could be taking a class, blended learning could be taking a class that's partially online and not. I teach a course in spring, and my students go every other week. 1 week they're online, 1 week they're not. You're doing completely online, You could do blended learning. We have students that they take a class, but they also take it online. So, for example, this class is also held that way. I didn't have anybody choose to do it this time, but it could be that you want to be there face to face every week, but then some weeks you can't make it because you are on vacation. So you would just do it online those weeks. And that's another way to blend it. So you have different ways to blend it all together to make learning work. And that's what it's about. You also have the flipped classroom. Flipped classroom has come into, it has become very popular the last couple of years. And it's basically where the teacher does a video like this, does the instruction at home. The students that watch the video, they can rewind it. They have these little stop, pause questions in between like I'm doing for you. And then they, in class the next day, instead of teaching and doing the direct instruction, they do hands-on activities. They move around the classroom. They pull small groups. They do little mini assessments, and they work together hands-on with whatever the topics they taught. Now, I've seen this done well, and I've seen it not done so well. So a lot of teachers like kind of doing a half flipped classroom where they might do a couple of activities like that a week, and then some that do a lot. I think the most part of the flipped classroom works out very well. But then there's always the people that say, well, what if they don't watch the videos? What if they don't do this? What if? You could say the same thing in the regular classroom. Are they paying attention to you? Most students watch it. Most teachers will give a time period in the beginning to come in and watch it. But I have spoken to students that said, I've gone from a D in my class to a B because of this. And this was in an inner city school district. I have been with math teachers that do it phenomenally. And math you would think is very difficult, but watching the skill and then having them practice with them in class and pulling the small groups has really allowed him to be a really hands-on teacher. I've seen social studies come alive with all the videos and things that they can do. The creating of videos and reenacting scenes and having debates, it really does allow, but it does take time on the teacher's part. But it's about the learning, not the amount of work. Let's take a little more look at this flipped classroom. So here was how the traditional model was. The teacher did the instruction, the student assimilation of instruction, the student completed an activity, and then you do the homework to review it and consolidate in your mind. The flipped classroom is instructions delivered through homework. As I said, they watch a video, either teacher done or someone else has done. The student assimilation of instruction. The student completes the activity support, and the teacher support to consolidate. The difference is here. When the student is trying to do the activity at home, there's no one to support. When they do it in school, there's someone to support. The teacher now has the time in their lesson to work with the students and help them when it counts most. And it can truly be done. It can be very successful. Even if it's done once a week, twice out of a unit, it's still giving those students that learn better in this model a better way. Or maybe all the time. And then it's those students that it works better to rewind a video 5 times till they understand what you said, or have it as a review guide. It's still out there. Gamification is another way. Gamification came about when we look at all these children that play all these games. And you take a thing such as Angry Birds. And then as we're looking at Angry Birds, we play the first game, and the concept is to get the pigs. And so when we do that, the first time we play it, we lose. We play it again, we lose. Play it again, and we lose. And you keep playing it again till you lose. And notice that even though we lose, after my 47th try, I'm still playing that same game. I'm not giving up because I want to get to the next level. And I also want to get the gold crown. And I want to be able to get a different color bird. And I have all these little rewards built in that make me want to keep doing it. Candy Crush, another one. Candy Crush Soda, Candy Crush, all of them. You want to keep getting to the next level. You want to compete with your friends. You want to ask your friends for help. You want to get that reward, get that prize. You want to say you're on 409 instead of 68th place or 68 level. It's all the theory. And what they've done is taking that gaming that's so successful with kids and adults, and they say, how do we put it into the classroom? And so putting it into the classroom kind of works a little bit like this. Your students, if we ask them to do an algebra problem and they can't do it, they give up after 1 or 2 tries. This is too hard, I don't want to do it. But yet, if they want to do Angry Birds, they'll do it over and over again. If they want to do Candy Crush, they'll keep playing it over and over again, even though that's hard too. But when you're doing an algebra problem, there's no reward. There's no level. There's no media board to post it to. There's no social media outlet saying, this person has passed you. There's nothing. And that's the business of gamification. You align the loyalty incentives with the business goals. So for example, if I want to get to the next level, I've got to finish it. I'm defining my goal. I want to get to the next level. And then I keep working on it until I get there. And if I get there, then I get the prize, which is to move to the next level. And I'm also posted to the social media feed to say, hey, I did this. So it's out there. So if I were a business, they use this gamification too. Define your site's business goals. Which behaviors do you want to encourage? Identify and segment site visitors. Use deep engagement analytics to understand the site audience. Recognize and reward engagement. Teachers can start doing this in their classroom now by making it a game, having those little rewards. People now use badges. A lot of online learners now went to the badge system where they give them badges. Good job, you made it to this level. You got the star award for the first one done. I have seen teachers that have it set up in their classroom and they don't use any technology at all except for maybe a preview on how to do an activity. But it's that whole gamification process. The kids want to keep trying to do it, and when they win, they get to put their name on the board, or they get to post it to the online site, and then they did the first 3 algebra problems, and they did it within this many minutes. Or maybe you're looking at your lower learners. They didn't finish it in time, but they did so many, and now they get to be a blue fish instead of a purple fish. And it's all of that learning and thinking about how you use games. Not actually gamification. People think about using the actual game in the class. No, it's the whole rewards. It's the badge system. It's the incentives. It's the posting it. It's the concept behind it. You want to keep trying. And that's what we have to bring in. So what do you need to make these types of online learning models work? There's something called TPAC. And it is the technological, pedagogical content knowledge. It is right here, and I know you've heard this word referred to before, but TPAC is a whole bunch of things combined, and it is how we learn online. It is using the technology piece with the knowledge piece and the content piece, and merging those all together. So what technology will we use that's going to be pedagogically appropriate, meaning the study of how we learn and the study of children, and the content, the curriculum. We merge these all together in this little center area right here is TPAC. It's how the students are learning. It's taking this all together and lining them together and finding this sweet spot here in the middle on how the students will learn with these new ideas. What are the challenges in creating a knowledge-age learning environment? You have to keep your eye on the prize. The knowledge-age learning environments. You have to make it that you want to make them to learn. That's what you're there for. You're not there to grade them. You're not there to score them. You want them to learn. You want them to learn how they learn. You want to give them another option. From the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. Don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do something. Not even me. You got a dream, you got to protect it. When people can't do something themselves, they're going to tell you that you can't do it. You want something. Go get it, period. So you have to as the teacher, make it work. And you have to teach and instill in your students that we can do it. And it's hard, but by meeting them halfway and providing activities that meet their needs, you will win the prize. So this is a little bit of a summative online and seeing how it works. So hopefully going through this presentation allowed you to see some of the things and make you start thinking about the different ways we learn. During this whole next section, in session 2 here, you are going to be looking at different learning styles and different ideas on how to use in an online classroom. And this was just a little thing to get your kind of mind boggling a little bit and getting you to think. And we want you to kind of figure out what are some other learning styles, how are people learning, what are some other online ideas. And we're going to be sharing them and presenting them. So hopefully this was a good kickstart, and we'll see you soon.